Hey there, welcome to another episode of The Lamp. This is Pat Munsey. I'm the publisher of the Kokomo Lantern, and I'm on location today at the Narrowgate Horse Ranch in western Howard County with the founder of the organization, Susan Zody. Is it Suzanne or Susan? I should know better. It's Susan. So I promised her that I would screw things up much worse than she ever could, and I'm already off to a great start. So thanks for having us out here to the ranch, Susan. We're out here because you have your annual fundraiser, the Derby Ball, coming up in just a couple of weeks. So let's talk a little bit about the Derby Ball.
Okay.
So how did it get started?
Well, it was just an idea. We knew we had to do a fundraiser, and as you know, in Howard County, Kokomo, it is hard to come up with a fundraiser that's unique.
Yes.
And so for us, what we do is unique. Nobody else is doing what we're doing with horses. So I knew it needed to center around horses, and I'm like, what about the Kentucky Derby?
Sure.
So that's where the idea came from, and which is great. We live stream the Kentucky Derby. We actually have, as part of our fundraising event, we don't bet on horses.
Right.
We bid, just like we bid on the silent auction baskets, but you can bid on a horse so that whoever bids the most money on the horse that wins gets a trophy, and they get a dozen red roses, and keeping with the theme of the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how it got started. It was just, what can we do that's unique?
And this will be your fourth year?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's fantastic, and it's going to happen on Derby weekend, which I'm not a horse race aficionado, so I don't know the date for the Kentucky Derby. Forgive me.
It is. It's May 3rd.
Oh, so it's coming right up.
Yeah, and it's from 5 o'clock p.m. until 10 o'clock p.m. The doors open at 4:30.
And this is out at the Experience?
It's at the Experience, which is inside. It's the event part of the country club.
Right.
So it's very nice. It's a sit down. It's a formal / semi-formal. So women come dressed in long or short dresses. Mm-hmm. Guys can wear tux or nice. We've even had people in Derby attire that's like nice shorts and a jacket for the guys.
Right, right. And you have a hat contest too as part of this, right?
Yes, we do. We've had that hat. And that's funny, Pat, because it started out as just for women, because it's kind of fun to put hats on, and we never wear hats anymore. Most people don't. And so I thought, why don't we do a hat contest? Because I love hats. I thought that'll be fun. So we decided to do a hat contest, but then 4 years ago, the very first night, or the first time for the event, guys came with hats on too. And we were like, we're going to have one for guys too.
Sure.
So we have it for men and women both.
So it's a really neat event. Tickets are still available.
Yes, tickets are still available.
And the tickets cost?
They're $65.
And how would I go about getting one?
You can go to our website, Narrowgate Horse Ranch, that's all one word, narrowgatehorseranch.com. And right on the home page, you will see the invitation, the Derby Ball invitation, and there's a link. It's a button right at the bottom of the invitation. Just click on that, and it will pull all the information up. It'll tell you a little bit about the times and what it's about, and you can purchase your tickets on there too.
Very good. So we're kind of doing this backwards. We talked about the fundraiser, but you may not know what Narrowgate Horse Ranch is or what it does. So let's talk a little bit about the organization itself.
Okay.
You were fortunate enough to start this several years ago, and it is an equine therapy program, right?
It's not, we don't say it's therapy because we're not therapists.
Okay.
Actually, our program director is a master's level therapist, and one of our board members is a therapist, but it is therapeutic.
Okay.
And what we do is very similar to a therapist. We ask a lot of questions. It's more maybe like comparable to like coaching kind of thing. We ask questions because we don't really teach the kids. We don't want to teach the kids anything. We want them to figure things out on their own, which they can. So our facilitators try to pull those things out of them through asking the right kinds of questions. But it's the horse. So we work as a team. So we have what we call a facilitator. They do what we're doing in the secular world. We are faith-based.
Okay.
So in the secular world, they do use therapists. But we don't. We call our people facilitators.
Okay.
And then you also have an equine specialist, somebody that really knows horses and specifically our horses. Mm-hmm. And then we have the horse. And of course, if we usually typically have kids anywhere from 1 to, we've had as many as like 10 or 12 kids in a group. It's better to have about 5 or 6.
Okay. And so you're bringing mostly inner city youth
Yes.
that may or may not have some domestic issues that are causing them difficulties, and you bring them out here and they interact with the horses, and through that process, that's when we have discovery. Is that right?
Absolutely. And it's really, horses really are, and I'm not a horse person, which is kind of the funny thing, but I saw this happen, and I had heard about something similar years ago, but the horses are very empathic creatures, and so they really do sense what's going on inside of us, what our emotions are.
Okay.
So, like one of the first things we will tell a kid when they come to the ranch is, let me tell you something that you might not know. Horses will never lie to you. And you see these big eyes, and it's like, but you can't fool them. Do you know what I mean by that? And so we go on to explain that, you know, we all, as humans, we wear masks a lot of times. And you might ask me, how you doing today, Susan? And I say, oh, I'm great, Pat, when really, you know, I'm stressed or I'm depressed or I'm whatever.
Right, right.
And you may not pick up on that. So we tell them that. You may come in and you may have just had a fight with somebody out in the van that brought you here. But when I ask you how you're doing, you say, oh, I'm just fine, Miss Susie. And you may fool me, but when you go out to be with your horse, you won't fool your horse.
So the horse knows.
The horse knows. And they don't even care if they're mad or upset. What they don't like is a discrepancy because they can't trust them. And so so we let, and you know, a lot of these kids, they lie to survive.
Sure.
So we want them to understand, we want you to be honest out here, and you need to be, or your horse isn't going to work with you because he won't trust you. And you need to learn to trust your horse too.
Gotcha. And so you introduce them by grooming the horse first, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So in that process, they're just brushing the horse, cleaning the horse, feeding the horse even. And is that how they?
We don't feed the horse. That is a rule out here. No feeding horses by hand, just for obvious reasons.
Okay. Well,
so we just make it a rule.
All right.
Yeah.
So cleaning and grooming then. Okay.
Yes.
And through that process, I can remember when we've talked before, the kids start to talk to the horses. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
And the horses respond.
Oh yeah, and sometimes they're scared to death, and sometimes it's the big, tough teenage boys that are scared. Let me just say, we even are allowed to go into Kinsey Youth Institute now. So we've got some kids that are pretty tough. We can only take mini horses in there, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's still, it's amazing that the kids. But if we offer to, like, well, I'll walk up there with you to meet the horse. How about that? And typically they will, at least eventually. And once they're there and they're grooming the horse and talking to the horse, then you can't get them away from the horse.
Sure.
So it really is, it is a trust thing.
And so you've noticed when this interaction between the horse and the child takes place, the child starts to open up to the horse about what's bothering them emotionally, right?
Yes, and that's what we ask them to do. So they don't like a discrepancy, so we tell them, so if you are upset or sad or whatever your emotion is, when you walk up to the horse, just tell the horse how you're feeling. You can say it out loud, you can say it in a whisper, or you can even just think it, because even when you're thinking the way we think affects the way we act and our emotions. So even that will work. So let the horse know how you feel. Yeah, absolutely. The kids don't come out here to see us. They come out to see the horses.
Sure.
But in the process, they meet the facilitators, and we have volunteers too. Those are typically staff people that I mentioned, but sometimes for bigger groups, we have other volunteers that are out there helping too.
Right.
So yeah, they get to know the volunteers and the staff, and they start to trust them because the staff they have to teach them what to do.
Right.
They don't know about horses.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's interesting because I believe that's the homework club coming. So this is a group of kids that comes up, have been coming from day one from Gateway Gardens, or Garden Square as it's now called. That's actually what started this whole thing. Was I was working with kids from Garden Square almost 20 years ago now.
Wow.
And so I got to know these kids, and I started taking them to another horse ranch, and that's how I found out about all of this.
Sure. Now, but it's more than just interacting with the horses. They have time with the horses, but then you have some group activities that take place in the barn you have here.
Yes.
And so what kind of things do you work with the children in that setting?
Well, let me give you a real easy example.
Sure.
And it's even the grooming. So and we learned this from a training we did, and it's so simple. It's like, why didn't we ever think of this? But so you take the kid out into the arena and they're grooming the horse. And of course, there's a process to grooming. You know, you have the curry comb, which you go in circles, and then the hard brush, soft brush, then you can comb their tail and all that. But we tell them what each one is like. And so for instance, we may, and you don't do it every time, you really have to just kind of wait for the right opportunity. But for instance, you might be grooming. This happened to me with a little girl one time, and I was teaching her how to use the curry comb, and I said, you press kind of hard and go in circles like you're putting wax on a car, but that helps get the dirt to the surface.
Oh, okay.
And then the hard brush, which is the second one, you take it and you just kind of flick the dirt off the horse. So in this one opportunity, and then you go on the soft brush, you just take long strokes, and that just makes the horse shine.
Okay.
So I had a little girl, and she wasn't talking a lot. It was about her third or fourth time to be at the ranch. And I was with her, and we were standing side by side. So I was grooming right alongside of her. And so I thought it was the right time. And I didn't look at her. I just kept brushing the horse. And I said, you know, this gets the dirt to the surface. And I said, so what gets the dirt to the surface in your life? And she stopped and she looked at me and she said, I don't know what you mean. And I didn't look at her. I just kept on grooming. And I said, well, you know, what pushes your buttons? Oh my goodness. She just started talking. She was like 13 or 14 years old. And it was a really bad situation. I was really new at this. This was probably 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, I don't know what to say, you know. But the more she talked, I'm like, I know this story. I've seen this on the news. I've heard this on the radio. And she was never mentioned, but she was definitely a big part of that story. And there was a young person that was killed in this situation. She was on the other end of this. And to think that a child that young was having to deal not only with grief, but knowing that she was part of that situation. And here you've got this young teenage trying to deal with all this.
Right.
And how the horse responded after that. She walked the horse around, and I walked with her, and it was really awkward. When we walked, she had never even led a horse before.
Okay.
So I went with her, and it was just like, I felt like she was going to get her feet stepped on. And so we go all the way around the arena, and we finally stop, and I'm like, well, that's done. And then all of a sudden, the horse does this thing with its head, like around her. And I'm like I said, I'm fairly new at this. And I'm like, she kind of steps back out of the way, and the horse did it again. And I'm like, I think the horse is trying to tell you something. And I said, what do you think she's trying to tell you? And she said, I don't know. And the truth is, I said, I don't know either. And then it hit me though, and I'm like, I think she wants to be alone with you. Would you like to take her and lead her around by yourself? Now, it was awkward the first time.
Right.
But sometimes you have to take some risks, as long as you know they're safe. And so I kind of reluctantly hand her the lead rope, and I stood back, and she starts walking. And about a fourth of the way around the arena, she just stops and grabs a hold of that horse's neck and just hugs that horse and kisses that horse. And it was just like that's what she needed. And every time she came back to the ranch after that, she had to go see her horse.
Gotcha, sure.
So it does things that we can't do, you know?
And obviously it's popular because you have more and more groups coming out all the time.
Yeah.
And you needed to build a really nice barn to kind of accommodate that, which you've had for a couple years now.
Yes.
And it is a beautiful facility.
And who would have thought, I mean, we thought it would be at least 10 years before we would ever be able to build an indoor arena. We were doing everything outside. So yeah, that was definitely a blessing. That and this office building that we're sitting in front of with restrooms. I mean, it's all those things that you don't think about. It's like, yeah, they're going to have to use the restroom. So we had porta potty out here for a few years. And then we were able to build the indoor arena with, the help of some just generous people in Kokomo. And it is awesome. Maybe we can go down there and
definitely
go through, and you can see what it looks like.
And you've also kind of branched out, and you do like business retreats as well. Is that right?
We do. We do. You know, everything. This is a very important thing. We do this all for free for these kids because they don't have the money. So honestly, we don't have an income. We're a nonprofit without an income.
Okay.
And we've been able to provide for all this through the generosity of people who want to help kids in the community. So, but it's at a point, it's like, okay, we're seeing more and more kids. We really need some kind of, even the people that are generous, they want you to be able to generate some kind of an income, a sustainability. They, you know.
Right, absolutely.
So we're like, what can we do? And what we do with the kids can be done with adults. It can be done with anybody. And so we're like, what about, I said, what if we start doing team building or leadership programs for businesses and churches or other nonprofits? And so we got like 3 different businesses in our community. Actually, one of them was actually Farm Bureau Corporate from Indianapolis that came up.
Okay.
And First Farmers Bank, and these were all corporate people, executives. And then we had AMI, Advanced Medical Imaging, and they were our guinea pigs, and they knew it. So I said, okay, we're not going to charge, but can we take pictures? Can we use this for promotional purposes? And they all agreed to that. And we always do surveys after everything. And anyway, they were so impressed. We had people say, you know, if this isn't the best team building opportunity that I've ever gone through, it's right up there with the top 3 or 4.
And again, they're working with the horses. They're doing the same things that the kids do.
The kids do. But it's like, you know, we all know that even in businesses, you've got to work as a team. And there's always issues because we're all people and we all have issues, you know. So it's a way to the horses, and it's amazing how the horses will just act out whatever they need. We can't control that. I mean, we pray before everything. We really do. We really believe God orchestrates that. And it is amazing. If you look on our website under the team building /leadership, there's a short video on there, and that is one of the Farm Bureau executives. He's the bean counter. He is the CFO. And when he did that interview, it was several days, maybe even a week or so after they were actually here and did the team building before the videographers went to his office to video that. So he's got time in between, right? Sometimes it's just emotion. Right. But if you watch that video, you can see at one point he stops and he almost tears up, thinking back to what happened. And what happened that day with the horse, we've never seen happen. We all stood there going, it was a little bit kind of scary, not that anybody was going to get hurt, but what the horses were doing. And we were like, so finally, Heather, our program director, she stopped it. And then she looked at their team and she said, okay, what just happened out here, does this mean anything to any of you?
What did the horse do?
Well, one of the mini horses, Jethro, he actually saw one of our most anxious horse, Molly. A lot of times when we take them into the indoor arena, the sand, they want to roll. Okay. So she was rolling. Well, while she was down, the little mini horse went over and started biting at her. And at first everybody was laughing because she does that. Okay. He does that. Jethro likes to do that. He's got another horse that he plays with like that all the time. But this time we kept watching, and he wasn't playing. He was biting. And finally the big horse, Molly, lets out this screech that we've never heard. And we're all like, oh my gosh. And so Heather stopped. She went and got the mini, put the lead rope on him, took him away, gave Molly a few minutes to get back up on her feet, and then she went to their team and said, does this mean anything to you guys, what just played out here? And they immediately said, absolutely. And they started to tell about something that had happened in their office that they had never really discussed that affected all of them. And those horses had just played that out in front of them.
Oh, wow.
And it was very powerful for them.
It's just unexpected what you're going to get out of it.
It really is. And, our Heather, one of her favorite things to say is trust the process. So even when, as that was going on, you're kind of like, should we stop this? But at some point, you do have to step in sometimes. Sure. But if she had stopped that immediately, none of that would have come out.
Right.
And it was really amazing. I mean, it was like this little horse was bullying. He saw an opportunity when the big horse was down, and he just started, like he was going to take over. He was attacking the big horse. And in their situation, some things that were similar had happened in the office with someone who had, they were down. I don't know if they were sick. I don't know exactly what it was. But then someone else was kind of coming in doing similar things that the mini had been. And they all saw that. They all got that. And so sometimes it's kind of neat to work with adults because everything we do is analogies. And sometimes little kids, it's hard for them to get it.
Connection,
and so we have to kind of help them. And the really little, the littles classes, ages 4 to 6, we don't even do the same thing. It's their program's a little bit different because they don't quite get it. But it really is amazing. And that's what's so cool about this is we're not teaching. We want them to see and figure out. And sometimes people come away with different stories. What did that mean to them?
Right. Very cool. So how do people get involved with Narrowgate? How do they get their kids out here? How do they get their businesses out here? How do they help you grow?
Okay. So kids, anybody can get on our website at, like I said, narrowgatehorseranch.com, and it'll just say participate, and you can fill that out. And it's any kid ages 4 to 19 can participate free of charge. And they've got a release form that they will fill out. We also work with groups, like I already said, we're going into Kinsey Youth Institute now. We've got schools coming out. There is a new law that a lot of people aren't aware of just yet. It just came in, it's House Bill 1137, and it just came into effect last summer. But it says that any child whose parent wants them to come out of the school, the public schools, for up to 120 minutes a week for religious instruction, the school has to let them out. And so we have 2 schools. We've had Taylor School Systems. Lewis Cass brought some high school kids, and we've got some others. We've got, I believe next fall, Western wants to bring some kids. We just started, they're not coming out here, but we are taking minis into Bon Air School.
Oh, okay.
And doing, it's a little bit different program. You can't do exactly the same things with minis that you can with the large horses.
Okay.
But they're letting us use their gym. And we tell them, bring us the kids that you're really having trouble with, the kids that really just need that extra, bring us those.
Okay.
And that's who we're seeing, and it's just really amazing. So anyway, the question was, I believe, how do you get the kids? So now we've got schools, so we're working with schools and letting them know, hey, we're out here. And we know that teachers, a lot of times, some of the kids, even little kids, it's hard to, they can't even it's hard to control the classroom because of 1 or 2 kids in a class. It's like, send us those kids.
Gotcha.
When they come out to be with horses, we don't even typically see that behavior, because there's these big creatures and they want to be there, but they're learning things about themselves. They're learning how to work as a team. They're learning how to control their behavior and their anger, because you can't be like that around the horses.
Right.
And so they're learning these things. And what the whole idea is to take these experiences that you learn from the horse. Well, you can't run up to a horse. You can't yell and scream around a horse. Why not? Well, because they'll be scared and they're anxious and they might step on me or run away or whatever. Okay, so how can you take that and apply that to your situation at school?
Gotcha.
Or how about you have to respect the horse? Oh, they know they have to respect. Okay. So how can you take that into school and use that at school? Who can you respect at school? That's the idea, is to take those things that happen there and then help them think through where else can you apply this in your everyday life.
Gotcha. Teach them life skills. Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes it's like something will happen out there and it'll be like, okay, we want you to remember this. Remember what happened when, whatever it was, the next time somebody's bullying you or somebody wants to fight or you want to fight. Picture this in your mind, what happened out here today with the horses. And how can you use that same skill that you learned here at school or at home?
There you go. Well, it sounds like you're doing a lot of great work out here, changed a lot of lives early on, and even once we're all grown up and professional too. So that's great. Again, we have a fundraiser coming up on May 3rd, the Derby Ball. Tickets are still available. You can go to the Narrowgate Horse Ranch website and you can obtain those. You can find out more about the organization, get scheduled for times to come out and visit. I don't think that you'll be disappointed at all. It's a beautiful place out here, and the horses are really neat. So I encourage you all to get involved, connect with Narrowgate, and see how it might fit into your life. So thank you so much for having us out here today, Susan.
Thank you, Pat.
Congratulations on all your success. Good luck on your fundraiser next week, or yeah, I guess it'll be next week at this point. So again, thank you so much. And thank you all for watching today. We'll have another one next week, but until then, please be good to each other.